Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. I am Joe, and with me is
Dak,
Jaymee,
and Data.
Yes, and today we are talking about Mistborn, The Well of Ascension, chapters 41 and 42, wherein Elend finally brasses up and becomes a man.
Yeah.
He talks over his troubles with Sazed and Tindwyl, and he finally decides that he needs to do something. So he gets up his courage and musters his men that are loyal to him to help try to protect the Ska from the deadly winter that is coming. Not like Game of Thrones, but it is a deadly winter that is coming. And then
Not like Game of Thrones that you know of.
Right, exactly. And then he travels to the heart of the Koloss camp and does some pretty badass stuff, but also kind of acts a fool. So that is where we are today. So hold on to something. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Elders, tellers, keepers of the bottom, treasures of the dirt. Russian string, we scribble and sing and dig for the annals of the earth. And we try to keep a little beauty in the world. All that died, we keep it in our hands.
Yeah, we got Elend going into the Koloss camp, which I believe Jaymee called like well ahead of time that he would have to have a sit down with the third leader of the armies. So that was impressive. What did you guys think of these two chapters this week?
These chapters, I think with the exception of the Sazed Marsh portion, I think these have been my favorite two chapters in the book so far. They're all pretty much told from Elend's perspective, and we finally get to see him really just taking action as opposed to politicking. So I really, really like these chapters. Every piece of it, I just thought Elend made great moves. And it's kind of a, as much as he's developed in this story so far, it's kind of a surprise still in these chapters to kind of see what he's doing. Also, we got a little tiny tidbit of Sazed and Tindwyl studies, which is, whetting my appetite for hopefully what's to come. So I really, really enjoyed these chapters.
Interesting. Yeah, it didn't even occur to me that they really are almost entirely from Elend's perspective, probably because Vin is incapacitated at the moment.
and that's it. Like, Vin is not in these chapters at all, which is that was a bit of a shock to the system. I got to the end of the chapter and was like, oh, the main character of the book was not here. But I agree. Like, it's nice to see Elend just pulling himself together and going out taking action. This really does come down to when he says he's going to do something, he does it. Like he said, oh, I'm not a king anymore, but I'm still going to do the best thing for my people. Mm-hmm. And so he's done that. No one asked him to do it, and he put himself at great risk to do so. So I'm gaining a lot of respect for Elend across these chapters and the last few that we've done. And his conclusion to the Koloss camp when he just fucking murders one of them and the others are looking at him and he just goes, he ate my horse. I'm like, oh man, you are fucking killing it, sir.
Literally killed it.
Yep.
Which was kind of a shock to me. I'm like, I can't believe you just survived that, dude. That was impressive.
I mean, yeah, like, he's been in combat before and he's been fairly useless at it, and now he just takes down like a fucking troll.
Right. I think a little bit of luck involved there, but yes, a very awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
I was just glad that he just picked on the small one. I was like, at least it was the small one, because that he wouldn't have survived, I think, if it was a bigger one. But yeah, good on him. I think these were really, really great Elend chapters. I was really pleased that we did get to see him with Jasties, and it didn't go as well, really, with like as it did with Set or Straff. Having that interaction with them, Elend could still walk away going, okay, I think I've got them sussed. But with Jasties, he's just unhinged now. He's been through some stuff which is absolutely awful, and he might be controlling the Koloss by paying them, but yeah, he's very unpredictable, I think. And especially for it to end in a fight was like, woo, all right. But yeah, no, like Elend, I'm really pleased that he's still fighting for what's good, and he's possibly got more scope to do right by people now that he's not the king. And I think I'm still pretty firm on he will eventually get the throne back because he will be doing more to help the people now than even he was ever able to before. So he might not have the Assembly's backing, but I think he'll have the people's backing, and that will I think that will go a long way in the long run.
No, that makes sense. I mean, the Assembly do get to pick the king, but who knows what's going to happen before the end of this, right? So.
Yeah, well, they do now, but, maybe the Assembly will get wiped out or something, and then the people will look to Elend. I don't think it's going to be a good time by the time they get there, but at least, Elend's still doing right. It would have been super easy for him to just go, well, you don't want me as your king anymore. Right. And it's really nice that he's doing what he has to do, and there are plenty of people out there who are willing to help him do it. So to keep everyone warm and alive, that's far more important than titles at this point to him, which is definitely what the people need in a leader. So, yeah, really good read.
Okay, I guess let's get into these two. Very, very short epigraph at the beginning of the 41. It's just, after that, I began to see other problems. All right, informative.
Yep, not really a lot to work with there.
Yeah. But Sazed and Tintwill are really digging into... I almost said the logbook. The word Elend-heavy was in this paragraph, and I almost said logbook. I keep doing that. But the metal slab, the word wall, whatever we're calling it. And we get some interesting little tidbits, I felt like, here, before they kind of get really into the matter that they're debating. But had we read before the part about Rashek being his nephew? I don't remember that coming up.
No, that's news.
Yeah.
So, he personally recruits his nephew to go along with Elend-heavy on his trip to try to lead him astray, and if all else fails, to kill him at the last moment, which we know is pretty much what happened.
Turns out nepotism doomed us all. I want to be a good uncle. My nephew needs a job. He's not really doing much at the moment.
My nephew is such an asshole that no one wants to hire him, so...
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, my nephew's an idiot. That's why I let him in my pool, but not in my house.
But that leads to the very interesting conversation, at least I think it's a super interesting conversation, that Tintwill's like, there's something wrong here. Like, Quan spends a really long time talking about how great a guy Elend-heavy is. And then at the last minute, he's like worried that he's going to take the power for himself, so he sends someone to kill him, and not just someone to kill him, but someone who we know is, and that Quan knew, is like a hot-headed asshole, basically. It doesn't seem to make sense on the face of it. And they don't really come to a conclusion about that. They're like, yeah, that's kind of weird. And then they take a break. So what did you guys think of this discussion?
It definitely made me think about it more, I guess, than I thought about it before. We spent a lot of time reading that logbook going, this doesn't sound like the Lord Ruler. It really, it doesn't sound like the person who would take over. And so obviously we learned that it wasn't the Lord Ruler's logbook. But are we also making assumptions that the logbook was written by Elend-heavy, or was that confirmed? Because I know that they're talking about, this doesn't sound like the guy that they're trying to stop. Was it written by someone else, or was it written by Elend-heavy?
I think that Sazed has definitely concluded that it must be the same guy in this chapter, because it may have been the very beginning of this chapter, actually, where he's like, he's not named in the logbook, but it really seems like the same guy.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess in the logbook he is talking about things that he's had to do, which he didn't want to do. And we were looking at it from this guy's a tyrant and he never wanted to do that, but somehow he's ended up here. It's like, what actually happened to him to make him feel like he had to do things that were awful as well? So there's a piece of this puzzle that we are missing. Like, Sazed and Tintwill are completely right, but what exactly it is, it's really hard to sort of pinpoint.
Yeah, that's fair. There's definitely stuff here that we're not being shown. But of course, it's stuff that happened 1,000 years ago, so that's how history works, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess it probably comes down to what actually happened at the well, what needed to happen there, like what Elend-heavy was supposed to do, what Rashek did instead after killing him, whether it was what was actually meant to happen or not. Because they talk about, it doesn't have to be any specific person because Rashek did it and he wasn't the hero. Like, well, did he actually do it right? Did he do something else? We don't know. We still have no idea what happened up there, and I think that's going to be the key to this all. Like, what happened at the well.
If we're supposed to believe, though, the mist is the deepness, then the deepness wasn't defeated, and the hero of ages is supposed to defeat the deepness. Defeat, not hold
Push
off.
back.
Defeat. So we know that whatever the hero of ages was supposed to do, Rashek still didn't do. He did something, but it wasn't what is actually supposed to happen. And Quan's fears and thoughts are coming well before they actually made it to the Well of Ascension anyway. So something's happened even before they've gone off on that journey for Quan to go, oh, no, this didn't work. Like, I always sort of thought it was on the, because when we were seeing it from Elendi's point of view, when they were up in the Terrace Mountains, that's when he started to figure out something was wrong. But Quan, like, set him up. It's like, okay, well, Rashek's not actually taking you there at all. So something's happened before that.
Yeah, and we're also, I feel like at this point, Tin Will and Sazed, and even us as the readers, we're also presupposing that everything that Quan is writing is the truth.
That's true.
That he is not coloring the story, especially now that we know that Rashek is his nephew. How easy would it have been for Rashek, who's now the Lord Ruler, to tell Quan, like, okay, you're going to write this, and Elendi's going to be the bad guy, and I'm going to be the person, you're going to say Elendi was not who was prophesied, and I'm the person that took control because that was what needed to be done, because this person was a fake.
That's a good point. Like, Rashek could have just leaned on him.
Yeah, because, I mean, what do they say? They say history is written by the winners, So it's like Rashek's telling Quan to write this out and put it to stone and say, and that's maybe why Quan is grandstanding so much on a wall, saying, I was the one who said he was the prophesied one. I'm the one who said all these things, and I gained from it, and I realize now that what I did was wrong. And he's kind of making it very clear to anyone reading this that he was wrong about Elendi, when maybe that's not the case. Maybe Rashek put those words in Quan's mouth. Now, Quan and Elendi, I guess, even from the logbook, had some kind of falling out, but we don't know for sure that everything Elendi's writing is the truth.
That's a good point.
You've blown my mind.
It might all be lies that we've been reading this whole time.
No, seriously, I was like, I have never considered this, but everything you're saying makes sense. It's like, holy shit, like, that could be it.
This is on the wall somewhere that is really important to the Inquisitors, who are led by Rashek. They're going to have something that's going to, effectively form their religion. If the Lord Ruler was meant to be this hero of ages and they wanted that sort of hidden, and as far as everyone else was concerned, he was the hero, you would want a story written to match that.
That's true, but this story still doesn't quite match that. I mean, because what Quan says here, and like Joe said, we don't know that any of it is necessarily true or even correct. Like, it could be true what Quan actually thought, but he could be wrong even 1,000 years ago. But what he says is that he doubts Elendi will give up the power at the Well of Ascension for the greater good. He says he's worried that Elendi will take the power for himself instead of giving it up, because apparently, according to him, you're supposed to give it up. That's how it's supposed to work. You're not supposed to be tempted by this power and keep it for yourself. And it seems pretty clear from the Lord Ruler's the story that he wrote of how this all worked and his whole religion, that Rashek did take the power. We know that he had godlike powers enough to create even new species at some point. And it says, his religion says that he got the power at the Well of Ascension and used it to defeat the deepness, blah, blah, blah. So they hang together, kind of, in the Quan saying you're supposed to give it up. It looks like Rashek took the power, and even Rashek's religion says he took the power. He just doesn't say that, hey, I wasn't supposed to do that.
Yeah, true.
It's like that whole really bad villain thing. It's like, I said I would give the power back. I never said when.
But yeah, it's true that we don't. I mean, there's really maybe no way for us to know what actually happened, because Elendi and Rashek were the last two up there, and they are both dead now. So at the well, who knows what actually happened, unless we find like a book written by the Lord Ruler after the fact where he admits to all of the things that he did. This may be the closest that we get to.
Yeah, and what you're saying actually, I think, puts a hole in my theory, because I doubt Rashek would be like, yeah, right, that Elendi should have given up the power, because then that's going to look bad on him. So that probably doesn't exactly fit with what Rashek would want the narrative to be, but who knows?
Yeah, and even if you're not 100% right, you are right that we don't know for a fact that everything he's saying is correct, regardless of whether it was actually, Rashek making him write something or for some other reason. Maybe Quan has his own reasons to not be honest here, right? But anyway, this is a really interesting and kind of deep question that gets just left open here. And Sazed is like, I don't know, maybe it's just because we see these events with the clarity of them having already occurred. Which, yeah, that's always a problem.
Yep.
And then they decide there's no way for us to judge at this point, really. Tindwyl feels like she doesn't even have information. She can't judge a guy without knowing the context of his life, she says. She's used to biographies that tell you all about a guy. So they decide to take a break.
No, I think Sazed wants to take a break, or Tindwyl wants... No, Sazed wants to take a break, and Tindwyl says no.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it gets into a discussion about how they don't have time. Things are getting worse. She's just like, I can feel that some bad stuff is going to go down here. And Sazed's like, no, yeah, you're right. Let's keep looking for this context that we need.
A storm is coming.
We cut to Elend, who is standing out contemplating everything that's happened, watching the koloss and all that. And he gets in a discussion with Daemu about, now that you lost the election, you're still going to join the church and stuff. And Elend's like, yeah, I promised I was going to do this, so I promised you dedication, and you shall have it.
Again, he's just like, I've said I'm going to do something, so I'm going to do it. Like, I have a lot of respect for people who follow through on shit like that. Even when Daemu's just like, you don't have to, dude. It's okay.
Honestly, when it comes to a religion, it's kind of like, if I'm a priest of this religion, I might be kind of like, I don't know, if you don't actually believe in our religion, I don't know that I necessarily want you going through with this just because you said you were going to, but I don't know. Daemu doesn't actually say anything, so who knows what he's thinking, but... And he's contemplating himself and Vin, and he's like, she seems different lately. Vin's not shallow. She can't be upset because I'm not king anymore. It must be something else. And he thinks about how she exploded that guy's head. And it was like, she was like so much better than me. How can she want to hang out with me? I couldn't even hold on to my throne. I wrote the very laws that deposed me. Which, yeah, that's true. I don't see how that's necessarily like a slight on you, but okay.
Once again, he does that. How could she love me? I'm like, oh my god, will you two just fucking talk to each other?
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like this could all be solved. Half of this book is about them not sure how they feel or how the other one feels, very insecure about their position in their relationship. It's like just talk it through, guys. You're both feeling exactly the same way.
Well,
it's very frustrating.
Elend knows that Vin feels inadequate to be his girlfriend, partner, however you want to phrase it, because Tindwyl told Elend that. So Elend knows, or at least, he has been told, so he should recall, and I think that should be an impetus for him to, talk it out. It's like, so, hey, Tindwyl told me this. I'm feeling kind of the same way about you. What do we do?
So he addresses this a little bit in the annotations, and he says, Elend does, however, completely misunderstand Vin here. I know it's a bit of an overused plot device, the man misunderstanding the woman and the woman in turn misunderstanding the man, but the truth is we write about it so much because it's so true. When my wife and I were dating, we each had the toughest time deciding if the other was interested. We were both terrible at interpreting each other, even though we both wanted the same thing, though we managed to get through it and get married. So that's what he says to address it here, which is fair, and at the same time it's frustrating. I agree that it's like, just talk to each other, guys. But it's true, I guess, if you're unsure and you're in this relationship and you're unsure of the other person, the last thing you're going to do generally is sit down and be like, okay, let's have a discussion of this relationship and how we're both feeling about it. Like, who does that?
I guess.
But he goes to visit the terrace people. Is it terrace men when there's a woman? It's the terrace folk. Sazed and Tindwyl. He goes to see Sazed and Tindwyl. That's what Elend does. There you go.
I like terrace folk. That sounds cool.
Yeah. And there's just one note that I want to read on this from the annotations. It says, Elend's relationship with Tindwyl cracks me up. That is all. So he comes in.
That.
Yeah. They do have a great relationship. He comes in and Tindwyl's immediately like, Elend, what is your purpose in bothering us? You've already proven your incompetence quite soundly. And he's like, excuse me, this is still my house. If you insult me again, you will find yourself ejected from the premises. And Sazed like, wait. Let's not.
Sazed is my favorite worm from Futurama. Well, wait a minute, man.
But Ellen's like, no, it's fine. She was just testing me to see if I had reverted back to my previous state of insultability. They really do have a fun relationship. But he comes in to ask for advice about like basically what he should do now. And he explains the situation where he could have lied and kept his throne at the end. And Tyndall's like, yeah, not surprised at all. She's not upset like we predicted. She's just like, no, by now this is the kind of stupid shit I expect from you, Elend Venture.
I am neither overwhelmed nor underwhelmed. I'm just whelmed.
And Sazed thinks that no, he shouldn't have lied because that would have been inconsistent with like who he is. He's like, maybe, for someone else, maybe they should have lied in that situation. And I'm not saying that like, a king should never lie or something like that. But for you, this would not have been right. And Tyndall's like, really? But what if all his people die because he wasn't willing to tell one little lie? And Sazed is like, whatever, I don't want to argue. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion. He's so non-confrontative. I don't know if it's his best quality or his worst quality.
That's how you keep friends, man. You don't get confrontational.
Well, I mean, that's what Tyndall is like. She's like, why don't you like stand up for yourself? Damn it. And they get into kind of a discussion about religion, and it's clear that Tyndall doesn't think a whole lot of religion, even though it says it's like his whole bag.
During this section, I'm just like, wait, did we miss the part where Ham came in and now they're having a philosophical debate?
But Ellen ends with being like, well, okay, what about all those great leaders you study? What would they have done in my situation? And she's like, well, they wouldn't be in your situation because they wouldn't have been that stupid. And she's like, Ellen's like, so that's it? It's all about the title then? And she was like, what do you mean? Isn't that what we're talking about? And that's enough for Ellen to remember this previous discussion they had and be like, no, it's not all about the title, to himself. And he thanks them and takes off. And they go back to studying, and that is the end of the chapter.
Sazed still calls him His Majesty.
Yep. Well, I guess I skip the part where Elend goes back up to his room and gets his king clothes out. Minus the crown, which he gave to Penrod, but...
Yeah. It's important. He's got to get his robes on.
And we move into the second chapter, where the epigraph is Quan bragging about his photographic memory. He's like, I don't need metal minds to memorize a sheet of words in an instant. All right.
It's not helping your word count on your wall, man.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, he's grandstanding, basically. Like, you know me. I'm the guy. I'm the one they talk about when they talk about geniuses. So I'll be the first one to admit that I was dumb. I was wrong. You may have an ulterior motive here.
Well, I was wondering about that because he actually says that some of you may know of his fabled memory. Who is he addressing? Who does he think is, like, he's carving this specifically for someone?
Yeah, apparently.
I guess other terroristmen. I mean, it's got to be other terroristmen, right? Because he's like, look, you all heard like about my prophecy, and I was this and I was that, but it wasn't meant to be. I was wrong.
Yeah, so it's like he's setting stuff specifically for some people. So this opens the question of, did those people ever get this metal sheet, or did Rashek steal it and stick it in the conventicle as soon as like he got back, or like
this is a good question.
This raises so many questions.
Or is that exactly where it was meant to go?
Could be.
I mean, my fabled memory. The Inquisitors are sitting around just going, dude, I never met you.
Well, we know now that you told us. Thank you. Yeah, like
They
we just raises further
Inquisitors, though.
Presumably it's written in like Terrace, so I would assume it's probably for the Terrace people. Oh, that reminds me. Completely random thought I had the other day that I wanted to bring up at some point on the show. But there is one bit of foreshadowing from in the previous book about the big twist at the end of that book that we never actually talked about, and I wanted to touch on at some point because it was funny. So when they find this logbook, Sazed tells Vin that it's written in like the language of the Clenny people, which we know is where Elend is from because Quan tells us that's where Elend is from. So it's in the language of the Clenny people. And during this same discussion, Vin like, how many languages do you know? And he's like, oh, I know like 700 languages. And then he notes that their current language, the one that they speak in the Final Empire, is an offshoot of the Terrace language. And so that's this hint that the Lord Ruler is not this guy, because why would he take over the world and make everyone speak a language that was not his original language?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's true.
Anyway, I don't know why that randomly popped into my head the other day when I was reading something, but I was like, I got to bring this up on the show at some point. So there it is.
Yeah, I feel like somebody really should have figured that out sooner then. Why do we speak this language of this group of people that the Lord Ruler like despises? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And well, I mean, he what Say says
I mean-
in the chapter is like the Lord Ruler's unity movement of the 2nd or 3rd century or something made everyone speak the same language. So it's been a long time that they've been speaking this language. Probably most people don't notice at this point.
Plus, does Clenium as a city or as a culture or as a language even exist anymore? Did they all get wiped out?
We definitely have not heard anything about them, but I think I don't know. We know that they wore suits and stuff like the noblemen in the current Final Empire do. So there may be like an implication there that their culture somehow still exists some way, but
That's Rashak being that dude. It's like, I hate these people, but goddamn, I love the way they dress.
yeah, that's true. It did talk about that.
I'd sort of had in my head that the Clenium, what we know as Luthadel was Clenium, because that was, if he wanted to sort of get back at the people that he hated, that seems like a pretty good way to do it. I don't know. I just had that in my head. I don't know if we read it or if I just thought about it or not, but
I think we may have
that
talked
makes
about
sense.
that possibility before. And I almost said
Yeah,
that
okay.
just now. Like, I think there's an implication that maybe Luthadel is like Clenium, but I don't know that that's actually an implication of the book so much as something that we may have discussed as a possibility.
Okay, right.
But yeah, so we don't know. We don't know. I mean, there are apparently lots of cultures in the old, before the Final Empire, because like we even read one of the epigraphs not long ago that was like the 16 lands or whatever, or the 6, whatever. There were several lands, and there were lots of kings and stuff. So lots of things have vanished in the 1,000 years, and probably nobody remembers except for the keepers at this point. Anyway, totally random side journey here. Let's go back to 42. 42 is a good number. And Elend is trying to figure out how to keep his people warm this winter. And basically, he wants to knock down this nobleman's neighborhood, or at least rip all the wood out of it. And they're like, well, probably they're like those old noblemen's houses are full of like ska transients at this point. And I was like, well, get them out, because noblemen's houses are mostly stone with lots of small rooms that are hard to heat because you need a separate hearth for every room. Ska tenements may be depressing, but they are designed to be heated more easily to keep everyone from freezing to death. So he's like, we need to move them, and we need to rip all this wood up and use it for fires to keep everybody warm, which is a good plan. Nobody's using those houses, so, you know.
Yep.
And we
Yep.
meet Gorodel again. I'm sorry, were you gonna?
Oh, I was gonna make a dumb joke. It's fine. I was
Okay.
gonna say, as Bender would say, that's using your ass.
And I'm sure you guys remember Gorodel from the last book because it specifically outlines what he did in the last book here.
Yes.
But him and Elend are old buddies at this point, kind of, sort of. And he's like, yeah, after I left the Lord Ruler's army, I joined your army because it seemed like the thing to do.
hmm
Like, are they really old buddies? Elend had to take a minute and remember, hey, wait a minute, we did that thing one time.
That thing one time, exactly. Just, yeah, he met him one time, but it made an impression, so.
Well, it's not every day someone helps you get into the Lord Ruler's palace so you can assassinate him.
Yep, this is true. Although I guess really they went in to rescue Vin, and then Vin decided to assassinate.
Well,
But yeah,
true. Big day. Big day.
A lot happened.
yeah. And Damu's like, should we really be ripping down all these buildings? Won't the king have a problem? And Ellen's like, nah. Penrod's not going to care. He's busy trying to get a bill through the assembly to give the city to my father. It's fine.
So that's come out.
Yeah. So I guess everyone knows now. Maybe Vin did tell him and we just didn't see it. Or maybe, I mean, if he's putting a bill through the assembly, then it's probably kind of obvious what they want. Although Elend is an assembly member, he should be there voting, right?
He's missed meetings before, and it cost him like, what are they going to do? Take the crown away again?
Well, I assume he doesn't want the city going to his dad, so maybe he should be throwing his vote in against that. I don't know.
Maybe they threw him off the assembly.
Could be. His dad's probably going to kill him if he takes over the city, so it's probably something he should try to avoid. Oh, and then we find out a little more about the poison problem that was going on, and we find out from a guy named Felt, who I don't know if you might remember from the last book. He did make an appearance.
The name rings a bell, but I can't for the life of me think where was it?
So Felt is the head spy of the group that Elend borrowed from his dad to follow Vin, and he's the one who comes back and reports, hey, the terroristmen went into like this thing, and we think it's a ska underground hideout. And so, yeah, he was one of Venture's spies.
Right.
And he's still doing some good spy sneak-in sort of work, where he's figuring out how they're poisoning stuff. We found out that there's pass walls that people can pay for passage in and out of the city, which Elend is completely flabbergasted by. So they went into the river, and there are gates under the surface of the river keeping people from moving in and out through there. But apparently someone had cut the locks on these gates and was swimming in and out and then replacing them when they left so that it didn't look suspicious.
Yeah, more to your point before, it is very funny. Ellen's just like, you mean they specifically left the city when I specifically asked them not to?
Not everyone is a good person, Elend. Not everyone does what they say they will do, or does what they're told.
Oh, they don't listen to the king. What a shock. Like he tells Felt, no, don't just replace the locks with new ones so that they'll be basically stuck when they get down there. And Elend is like, man, this guy's good. I should probably get him to work finding that Kandra spy later, assuming that Felt was not the spy himself. Wouldn't that be interesting if they just introduced, 66% of the way through the book, this completely new character? Well, not completely new, because he did appear in the last book, but like a guy we haven't seen except once in 2 whole books, and they're like, it's this guy after all. He's the Kandra.
That would be a bit disappointing.
Yeah, no, it would.
Yeah, cue Kevin Sorbo on that one.
Turns out the dog was the mastermind.
Why Kevin Sorbo?
Disappointed!
Okay.
Come on, you're better than that, Data.
I'm just sitting here thinking of Hercules.
Yeah, that is what that's from. It's like an outtake from Hercules.
Okay. Apparently I'm completely blanking on this thing.
Yeah, look it up on YouTube. Disappointed, Hercules, Kevin Sorbo.
Okay.
It's a thing.
I used to watch that show and Xena a lot. Those were good times. Those were filmed in like New Zealand or something, I think, weren't they?
They were. Well, Lucy Lawless is a New Zealander.
Yeah, she's from New Zealand.
Yep.
And I think she was like an extra on like the first or second episode of Hercules, and she was like so good that they were like, oh, let's make a show with this lady. She was like,
I think she was just like,
week.
yeah, she was like a one-off bad guy, and then like everyone responded so positively to her that they just extended her role in the show and then gave her own show.
Well, good for her. Now you got me looking at Lucy Lawless's credits.
She's also in Parks and Rec, which is a great show.
She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Was she in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I didn't remember that.
Yeah, she was in like the first and second season, I think.
As I've said before, Lucy Lawless, if you listen to the podcast, please call me. I would love to talk to you.
I remember her. She was really good in Battlestar Galactica too. I remember that because that's a good show. She's in Ash versus the Evil Dead, which I've never watched any episodes of, and I kind of kept meaning to. Anyway, sorry. Completely. Oh, look, she's in the upcoming movie Minions: The Rise of Gru as a character named Nunchuck. Okay.
They're doing another one.
It says it's completed.
It can only be good, right?
Yeah, obviously. No way it can be bad. Sorry. Back to the book. Damu says that he thinks he has a different idea of how poisonings are happening, and we meet a member of his congregation who says that he has seen an inquisitor in town. We've been talking for a long time, like, what happened to all the inquisitors? Where they be? And
it's got to be Marsh, right? It's Marsh.
Maybe. But why would he be hiding in town?
Yeah, he's probably not hiding, especially if these people saw him.
Well, I don't mean hiding. I don't mean hiding as in like in a hole. I mean, why would he be not talking to our friends that he knows?
I don't know. Do you remember the chapters we read with him before? There's something fucked up with him. His brain's like.
That's true. He was acting weird. You're not.
Yeah. He just walked away from Say's. There's clearly something going on.
No, he's going to kick in the door to Say's room. It's like, Say's, you left me. And Say said, no, you left me. And Marshall's like, I went to find breakfast, dude.
I went to the bathroom. It took a while. Jeez. I don't have
you
super
try taking a squat on a toilet with all these spikes in me.
Yeah. You try finding a nice place to take a crap when all you can see is metal lines.
Anyway. We don't get any information.
For a toilet. I fell off a cliff.
That'd be a bad toilet search if you fell off a cliff. We don't get any information except that this guy says he saw an inquisitor, and everyone's like, okay, so maybe that's a thing. We got more pressing issues. And then Ham saunters in. It says Ham saunter in. He saw Ham saunter in, and I'm like, what a weird verb to use there, but okay.
I like that word. It's a good word.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like I now have this impression of Ham like doing this walk.
Yeah. Where he's like his arms are going a little like back and forth a little too much, you know. He's just like, hey guys,
You're picturing
me,
Bender, aren't you?
Ham.
He's like, what?
Yeah, I guess. He's like
I was
whistling at the
gonna
same
say,
time.
Why can we hear "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees playing?
You can tell me the way I use my one.
Oh man, Ham's a woman's man. You know that's got to be true, right? We've never met his wife yet, so.
I was about to say he's married, so hopefully he's not a ladies' man.
Yeah, more so than Breeze. He got a girl. Of course,
Yeah.
I guess Breeze kind of did too, but
I guess the point
not
of
through any
this,
fault of his own.
the point of this podcast is I'm down with monogamy.
And incest. Those are Joe's
No.
favorite things.
No. I mean, I guess if the incest is monogamous, maybe we could talk about it, but
Anyway, Ham is not a fan of uniforms, and he's like, "Oh, you're back in uniform, huh, Elend?" And he's like, "That's too bad. Nobody should have to wear a uniform."
and I love this turnaround Ellen does. He's like, you know, Ham, really, you always wear vests. That's kind of like wearing a uniform. And he's like, wait, what? No way.
Ham's really what he does. He goes, "That's an interesting way of looking at it." Like Ham is perfectly fine considering these things.
But also, it's just like that's shaken his world more than anything else that has happened in these books. It's like, wait, am I? Oh my god, am I part of the crowd?
And this is where Elend makes a connection because they start talking about what if Set's army attacks? What is Set even going to do if like Straff attacks? Because he's inside the city with us at this point. And Elend's like, wait a second. That's why he's here. He intentionally left himself without options. Because if Straff attacks now, then Set's armies will basically have to fight on our side. Because he's tied himself in with us at this point. And Ham's like, well, that's desperate. And he's like, yeah, it is desperate. He's desperate for some reason. So he's basically created an alliance against Straff, whether or not they want the alliance. Which, I don't know.
Hey, I'm totally on your side. We didn't ask for you. Well, you got me anyway.
I don't know if Elend's making too big a logical leap here. What do you guys think? Like, is that what Set is up to here?
I mean, I don't think it's too big of a logical leap, especially from what we know of Set's behavior kind of moving from place to place. He's almost got like a Napoleon vibe. It's like he's conquering all these places, but he's not really able to keep them once he's out of those places.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where he's desperate to grab at the most power he can get. And so for whatever reason, I guess his desperation has led him here to the seat of power during Lord Ruler's time, because he thinks, well, if I can get the central dominance, if I can get that, then I can hold that, and then that'll make me the best and me the strongest. And I really don't think he thought his unless he's some mastermind that hasn't been exposed yet, I really don't think he thought his plan out very well. But again, that just plays into my feelings about Set. I don't like Set. I don't think he's very good at what he's trying to do. So honestly, I don't think that leap is too much to ask for, because Set strikes me as the kind of guy who's going to hide behind the biggest bully in the playground.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think like with his mad dash to get here, like conquering stuff and then just immediately running, like moving on from them and heading to Luthadel saying, I'm here for the Adium. I need the Adium. I'm like, are you running from something? Is there something coming behind you that you're just like trying to get in behind other people? Like, and I'm just like, it could be more Koloss. It could be the Mist. It could be the Inquisitors. We don't know. But it's like once Elend said that, I was like, he's using you guys as a shield. He's running away from something. He's just like, he conquered places purely to get them out of his way, so he could keep running to where he thinks the Adium is, because he thinks that'll save him.
So we thought that he was being very straightforward earlier, at least Elend did, about everything he said. But maybe Set's got some wheels within wheels going on.
Yeah, and I mean, again, do you really trust the guy that's like, I'm up front? I'm telling you, I'm putting it on Front Street. This is what I want. Do you trust that guy? Because, I mean, he's telling you, he's making a big deal out of telling you that this is what I want and this is what I'm going to do. I mean, really, there's always another secret, right?
Well, he did say in that meeting, he's like, no, I'm not honest. I'm just blunt.
Yeah.
So that was probably the most honest thing he said.
But this particular little scene ends with Elend being like, hey, Ham, got a question. How insane are you feeling at the moment?
Oh no.
Because yeah, this his plan is a little bit insane. Which now that I think about it, you guys, especially Joe, when Set showed up in the city, was like, "This is stupid. Why would he do this?" And so maybe now we have an idea of why Set would do something that stupid. But Elend does something probably even more stupid than that.
I was really hoping that it was, I know it wasn't because that's not the tone of the book. But when he asked Ham if he was, how insane was he feeling, I'm like, it'd be awesome if the next scene they were just like sledding down a mountain, like, yeah.
You want to go penguin sledding with me, Ham?
Yeah, exactly.
Ham was like, how does this help the people? And Elend said, it makes me feel good.
It doesn't help anyone but me.
And it says Ham easily found them a suitable paywall to get out of the city. And it's like this little old lady running this wall, this like secret passage or something that lets you out of the city. I'm not even sure how this works, honestly.
I got a serious Witch from Hansel and Gretel vibe off of this lady.
Well, Ham seems to like her.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just weird. It's like, yes, give me money. I'll let you through the wall. I'm just like, this seems like a trap. There's going to be an oven on the other side of that wall.
Ham even said that she gave him sweets when he was a kid.
Yep.
That is very, you're right. That's very Hansel and Gretel, which, okay. But
it's like, how's this lady making money? Well, she takes money off people trying to get out of the city, and then she sells their body to the butchers. We got some Sweeney Todd shit going on.
Sweeney Todd, yep, that's what that sounds like. Just sit in this chair, and I'll get you out of the city. It's all good. But she thinks that they're trying to run. And he's like, no. I want you to leave someone here to watch for us to come back. I have some business with one of the armies. She's like, well, none of Granny's business. For 3 clips, I can find a grandson to sit out here for a few hours. Lord Ruler knows I have enough of them. I like her. She's fun. And Ham says that, when he was a kid, like, she used to give them sweets, but it was just a really cheap way of getting some quiet yet well-targeted publicity for her pass wall. And everyone's like, oh, man, you grew up in Luthadel? And he was like, well, yeah, duh. On the streets like Vin? Not like Vin. I don't think anyone grew up like Vin.
Nobody grew up like Vin. I mean, man.
Yeah, Vin had a very special experience. And Ham's kind of worried that Elend might want to shut the place down. And Elend's like, I don't know, why? I'm not king anymore. What do I care? And as they go, he's thinking, my old nobleman friends would have tried to talk me out of this. Or why did I surround myself with people who had been loyal to the survivor? It's like they expect their leader to take irrational risks. Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know that this crew is an upgrade from his old friends, but after we see Jastes in this chapter, he definitely went with the right group. Because that guy went, really lost it. If I don't come back, tell Vin what happened. And Ham says, sure, I'll tell her. Then I'll proceed to remove her daggers from my chest. Yeah, Vin would not be happy.
Vin would be pissed.
But apparently, Elend is like, he saw koloss once before when his dad made him go out and see some that lived or were stationed near their home city of Urteau. I don't know how you pronounce that.
It's like I thought Urto because it's the same spelling as the end of plateau.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. For some reason in my head it's Euretria, which is not at all how it's spelled, so I don't know why. But anyway, he rides his horse out to see the koloss because that's what you do. And he comes up to some of them and he's like, take me to Jastes. And they're like, They tell him to get off his horse and he's like, take me to Jastes. And the koloss is like, okay. The book said the creature would either do as commanded or simply attack. So I guess he got lucky. If that was a coin toss, it came up heads for him. He's good.
It's a pretty big chance. Imagine if he's ridden out there and they went, I don't like you. Gone.
Yeah.
I immediately regret this decision.
Mm-hmm.
This was poor choice. Vin, save me, Jeebus. But then he has a very strange conversation with the koloss, who are now wearing random bits of clothing that are clearly not their size. So most of them have have them wrapped like bandanas, like pants or shirts just wrapped around their arms or heads like bandanas. And the koloss says, we are not koloss. You think we are koloss. We are humans. We will live in your city. We will kill you and we will take it. So that's nice.
We is people now.
It's a bit scary.
Yeah.
I get a real cavity creep vibe off these guys. We make holes in teeth. We make holes in teeth.
And then, of course, the koloss start fighting. Like, one of the little ones jumps the big one, the leader, and kills him. And it's just like, he was never a good leader. That's his excuse.
But just out of fucking nowhere. It's not like he said something and the guy said, "You're a terrible leader." It's just like, just turn to him, it's like, actually, you know what? Fuck you.
Yep. Random murder. I would not want to be hanging out in this camp. I'm just saying. I don't know that Jastes has made a good choice here. And he gets off his horse and throws the reins to one of the humans that's stuck in the middle of the camp. And he's like, "Take care of this." And he tells the guy that you can announce me, but you got to get to the tent before me because I'm not slowing down for your ass. Just I'm important, you're not. So, and Jastes lets him in, and we find out that he's I don't remember if it came up when Sazed was there, but Jastes has been drinking a lot, and the hard stuff too. Elend's like, that is not dinner wine. That is something very clear. And Elend accuses him of being a tyrant, and Jastes says that he's not a tyrant. Your father is a tyrant. I am just a realist. And Elend's like, really? The middle of the koloss army is a realistic position? All right. And apparently, he tried to institute Elend, like the ideas that they'd had and discussed, he tried to put them into action in the Southern Dominance, and it did not work out for him like it did for Elend. Probably because Elend has a Mistborn, and Jastes probably did not. But
Jastes just doesn't make king-making speeches like Elend did.
Well, yeah, there might be that too. He didn't speechify it the right way. I trusted my allies rather than crushing them into submission. And do you know what they did? They killed everyone. Because that's what you do when you take over. You kill your rivals and their families, even the young girls, even the babies. And then you leave their bodies as a warning. That's good politics. That's how you stay in power. Okay. So that's the guy that you want taking charge of your city with his army of koloss, right?
Yes, it makes for a stable king. Poor guy.
And then Jastes is like, haha, I will take you prisoner. Send to the city and tell them we want to negotiate. And Elend's like, dude, I'm not king. Do you think I would let you capture me if I was the king? And Jastes like, that fancy suit and haircut didn't save you, huh? And Elend is trying to convince him, this is bad. You need to leave. These koloss are going to destroy everything. Just like they did that city that you came through, that you're like, oh, that was an accident, that the koloss destroyed that city. What happened, Jastes? Did they decide they needed a king? Did they decide that's the way humans did it, so they should too? What's in those pouches? Tell me! Getting very Batman, sorry. So I guess we don't necessarily, I mean, all we get at the end of this chapter is when Elend gets his hand on the pouches, he says, he's paying them. So what do you guys think? Is it full of money?
I thought it might be full of adium, but then I thought, where would he get that much adium? So I guess it has to be money.
Okay.
Yeah, I was saying, it's like, is it adium, and that's why he's desperate to get his hands on it? But again, who knows?
Is he desperate to get his hands on it, or just desperate to make sure that Straff doesn't?
Yeah, point.
That's fair. Because I think that's what he says, is I can't let Straff get that adium.
What does he know? What does he know that we don't know?
Right.
And also, what sort of monetary value would the koloss see in, a pouch full of coins?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe they like to eat them, but I don't know.
We don't have any idea what they value.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, they kind of point to it a couple of times in this chapter. It's like these particular koloss want to be human.
Yep.
They're saying we're not koloss, we're human. We're going to take your city. They started dressing like humans, and they want to take the city and live in it as humans. And so maybe Jastes has basically taught them to be human. You also have to value gold. And it's like this is what you trade with if you're a human. You use gold, use copper, use whatever. And so he's basically saying, if you want to be human, you got to have coins. Whoever has the most coins is the best human.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
I think it will be revealed in this exactly what was in the pouches in the next set of chapters that we read. So it's not really a huge cliffhanger, but there's something else that you guys had touched on.
Spoiler, man.
In a previous episode that is relevant to this discussion. So I'll leave that there. So Elend pulls out a knife that Vin had given him, an obsidian knife, and grabs Jastes and rams the knife into his shoulder. And he's like, if killing you would do anything useful, I would do it, but I don't know how to control these things. So listen.
This is the point where Ellen ran out of fucks to give.
Yep. As a friend, I'll give you a bit of counsel. Think about that wound in your arm for a little while. I was your best friend and I nearly killed you. What the hell are you doing sitting in the middle of an entire army of deranged koloss? Yeah, that's And then Ellen's like, I'm leaving. Bye. And goes out and crosses the kind of unofficial line from the human camp into the koloss camp, and the humans will not follow him. So that is how stable this relationship is.
Yeah, that's a good
Yep.
sign. And I think he also makes mention early in the chapter that said there were more guards before, so
Yep.
we can just imagine what might have happened to those other men.
Oh, they did.
Oh, yeah. Or ran away. I wouldn't want to be one of Jastes' guards here. Like, quite honestly, I'm not risking my life for a crazy drunk king guy in this army of koloss.
Yeah.
But Elend is kind of pissed off because he found nothing productive in this trip. He's like, if only I could have found out what was in those pouches. And that's where he gets the idea. And he thinks, before he does it, this is stupid. And yet that does not stop him. And I think it said that, like, yeah, the koloss, the small ones are like 5 feet. So it's not like it's huge. 5 feet is shorter than probably any of us here on this call. So it's not like they're giant, but they're really strong still and scary. And there's a whole army of them, which makes attacking one of them in the middle of a group of them just insanity. And yet it works out for him. The koloss is momentarily distracted because he thinks another koloss is attacking him instead of Elend, and it takes him a minute to figure it out. And he manages to take him down. Partially because the koloss apparently use these giant swords that I imagine are difficult to kind of like swing quickly and close to you. But he manages to get his knife into the koloss's eye and wins the fight. And that's when he gets up and turns to the rest of them and he's like, he ate my horse. And the group of koloss nod.
Well, they seem to accept his
bro.
justification.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, look, that you had a valid reason for that. We'll accept that. And
We
we're
didn't mention-
human, so that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. We didn't mention that when he came back out, his horse was gone. But, yeah. Somebody probably ate it. It's fine. Maybe it was that guy. For all we know, that guy did eat his horse. So he was 100% justified. And he takes the bag off of him. Not the sword, because it's so big that he doesn't even think he could really carry it. And he looks inside, and that's when he comes up. He's like, yep, shouldn't be surprised. Jastes is controlling his army the old-fashioned way. He's paying them.
Just
End of
occurred to me, actually,
Yeah.
how the koloss just accept what he does. They're probably all really happy because they're just like, we are humans. The human has done what we do. We really are humans because the human did it too.
We were right all along.
This is how humans behave. We're doing so well, guys.
They're going to go back and tell all their friends. Humans value their horses. We must get some of these.
These things, I guess they're sort of small, but we don't know how heavy they are because I'm just imagining one of the bigger ones trying to sit on a horse and the horse is just like, oh god, no.
Yeah, I think the biggest ones get to like 10 or 12 feet, I think it said. So that might be a little big for the horse. But the little 5-foot one, he could probably do it.
Yeah.
So that is the end of these 2 chapters. The second one especially was a very long, kind of meaty chapter, which is why we only did 2 this time. But any final thoughts on these 2?
I hope this pattern that we've seen in these chapters where things are picking up, Ellen's kicking into action. I hope we're beginning the descent into somewhat into the Sanderlanche so that we can get going. I'm excited.
Yeah, we are definitely getting into that realm. I think by the end of next week's set of chapters that we will, if not have actually started into Sanderlanche, I think we will be approaching it pretty nearly.
What percentage are we on now?
That is a good question. We are at about 68%.
Okay. In the final third.
Yep. Okay, I guess let us get into predicaments. I will nominate Jaymee to go first, since no one else.
That's good. I was just about to go. I'll go.
Okay.
So we're all thinking along the same lines. So I'd sort of had a thought about the koloss that no one was really sure how they'd come into existence. Like no one's really sure how they breed. And I had this thought of like, if the Lord Ruler created these things like we were sort of thinking about, I think it was last week or the week before, what if they were people originally. And so, or you can create them out of people as well. So it's not necessarily that they're breeding, but maybe they're taking, like, it's like they're an infection or something and they take over and just become this monster. And they're like, they've raided the village, but now they're like, oh yeah, well, there's clothes. We wear clothes because we are people. And for them, that money's already a value. You know, maybe that's something. I could be way off the mark there too, but I was like, that's a bit terrifying. That would explain why they've got so many numbers. And yeah,
Inquisitors are made out of people, so maybe that fits. I mean, we know that Conjure are not.
Yeah.
But Inquisitors are, so maybe.
Yeah. So possibly maybe another experiment gone wrong. That was my first thought. Okay. Your thoughts as well about the whatever they're paying them with. Going back to the discussion that we had about the counterfeit coins as well. I think at one point we threw out that they were maybe made of adium, but I don't know whether that's true or not. But if the koloss are being paid perhaps in these counterfeit coins or slightly different coins, and they're making their way to Luthadel as well, so they're obviously trading or something with them. They are buying things or doing something with them. I don't know. That's maybe a bit far-fetched too, but that was another thought. And I already said I think in the very first part of the episode, just that Elend will get his crown back. I still think that will definitely happen for him at some point.
Okay. Are we thinking like this book some point, or maybe like into the next one?
Look, probably not this book.
Okay.
I think it's probably more likely that if we go to the well, that he would sort of come with Vin, especially while he's not king, and maybe he has to do something there, you know, and he'd come back and be king. Yeah, maybe in the next book.
Okay, fair enough.
That's all I've got.
Okay. Joe, what do you got?
I don't know. I feel like just going on another rant of fake predictions like I did that one time. I'm not sure. You know, at this point, there's so many directions that we could go in.
Yep.
So I think what I'm going to say is I hope these next chapters, like for the immediate future, they focus more on Vin getting involved with what Sazed and Tinwell are doing, or even kind of reconnecting with Elend, because I feel like that has to come to a head soon. I don't feel like this weird Zane Elend triangle can go on into like another book, or if it does, I'm just going to be like, really, we're still doing this? So I would hope that soon that portion of it at least is going to be over.
Yeah, it's interesting because now that we've gotten into the back third of this book, it's like this is where we hit that point where we're talking now about is whatever this story is it going to wrap up in the remaining third, or is it going to carry over into the next one?
Yeah, because I mean, we could potentially say, hey, that first book, it almost stood alone. I still see some kind of issues with it standing alone by itself. But you could almost say that stood alone. But if he's made a second book, my assumption is he was already planning the third and possibly had a lot of it written. So it's very possible that this book could have a satisfying ending, yet there's a lot of room for more story that you know is going to be told in the next one. So
okay, fair enough. Dak.
Yeah, like I'm also a bit confused about where things are going at this point. Not in a bad way, but I'm just like, there's a lot going on now that we've opened up these. Elend's doing restorations around town. The whole angle that Tinwell and Sazed are discussing of, you know, what's the real deal behind Quan, Elend-heavy, and Rashek? Like, what have we not figured out there? So the big prediction I have that spun out of that is, I mean, you said earlier the only people who know what went on up there are Rashek and Elend-heavy, and now they're both dead. And I got to thinking, are they though? I mean, Rashek I think is, but now I'm wondering, it's like, are they going to get up there and find that Elend-heavy managed to get some sliver of the power and that has kept him alive all these years, or is he going to be like something that forms in the mist, or is like I get the feeling we haven't seen the last of Elend-heavy now. Okay. I think for whatever reason, maybe he's trapped in the well and it's sustained him, or he's going to be a mist ghost or something. But when they finally get to the well, they're going to find him, and he can just Obi-Wan for Vin for a bit. I don't know. Like maybe that's really far-fetched, but I'm just like, the more I think about it, I'm just like, how can we possibly get the answers when the people who were there are dead? And I was thinking, well, like I said, we still don't know what happened at the well, so I don't know. So we don't know what happened to Elend-heavy, what happened to his body, what his final fate was, if it's even come yet.
Yeah, I mean, Rashek definitely seemed dead at the end of the last book, but we're right. We don't know anything about Elend-heavy. For all we know, they could get up to the Well of Ascension, to the cave or whatever's up there, and there's like an Elend-heavy ice cube standing right next to it, like Aang frozen in an iceberg. And they're like,
I was going to go for Han Solo into Carbonite, but yeah.
There you go. See.
Yeah, I don't think he has the Avatar state to get out of that, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, if he got some of the power from the well, that could be Avatar state.
I guess. Even that has its limits.
But yeah, so I think, that's what I think is going to happen. Any other predictions I have is I agree with Joe. I think the Inquisitor is Marsh, and he didn't find what he was after in the conventicle. But he's found some clue somewhere, and it's led him back to Luthadel, and then I think he's going to come to the guys and just I need your help with something. And yeah, they'll have to go look, you keep they'll say, well, you came to Sazed and just fucking ditched him, and now you want our help again. You need to start giving back and tell us what you're actually doing and what you're looking for.
Right.
Because that's a two-way street. You can't just keep asking for this shit without giving back. The only other prediction I had is Elend will become king again, but not of Luthadel. He will become king of the Koloss.
Oh, now that he knows how to pay them, he'll up the ante and pay them more.
No, not about paying them. He speaks their language of kill them. They've seen that and they respect that, and they'll just go, this guy understands us. We will make him our king.
Would Elend maintain that though?
Well, that's it. He might not want to, but he'll just have this army of Koloss following him around, just going, king, king. And he's like, will you fuck off already?
Ben would probably be happy to kill a few every once in a while if it helped.
Yeah.
He's instead of the white coat, he'll have tribal gear on. He'll start wearing skulls and shit, He'll sit on a throne of bodies and be like, yes, do my bidding, koloss.
I get the feeling it's I don't want to be your king, and everyone's like, dude, you can control them better than Jastes could. Can you please do this so we don't all fucking die? And he's like, but I don't want to do this. Just do it or we die.
And he just sighs heavy. He's like, okay.
King of the Koloss. That would be a thing. I don't know if it would be a good thing or a bad thing. It would be a thing. Okay.
Yeah, King of the Koloss. That sounds like a great heavy metal song.
I don't know. Maybe they'll just we'll just exploit this. Just get your entire, your Koloss people to follow you, run off a cliff. Vin will catch you, and they will all fall to their deaths. Problem solved.
It reminds me of what's that movie with Dustin Hoffman and Will Ferrell when they have the discussion about him being king. So
Tootsie.
Are you king of anything? He's like what? I don't know. King of the lanes at the local bowling alley. King of the trolls. And he's like, king of the trolls? Yeah, a clandestine land found underneath the floorboards.
Is it
Stranger Than Fiction? Yeah, that's what it is. I like that movie.
I always got told to watch that, and I always really wanted to, but I never have.
I recommend it. Yeah, it's fun.
It's okay. I don't really like Maggie Gyllenhaal as the main woman lead, but
my wife really hates Will Ferrell generally, but she liked that one. Anywho, moving on. We have one email this week, but it's just a quick email from Jason because we had talked about doing some sort of discussion thing, and I suggested a Facebook group where people could discuss stuff, spoilery type stuff. And Jason says,
wait, who's Jason?
It's this new person who's emailing us. We've never heard from him.
Okay, all right, got it.
I think that some sort of fan spoiler chat would be good, but I think Discord would be a better option, and then you could have channels for non-spoiler talk and other things. So that's not a bad idea. I don't really use Discord a lot, but I kind of like that idea, so I'm going to look into that. Thank you, Jason, for your first ever email. We appreciate it. Oh, and on the topic of that, I just want to remind everyone that we are filming these episodes in particular way before they come out. The last two, this one and the next one, will all be done before even the first one comes out. So please do send us emails, thesanderlanche@gmail.com, or hit us on Twitter @thesanderlanche, or Instagram, which I think I forgot to make an Instagram post this week. That's my bad. Now that I'm talking about it, or Facebook. We are all sorts of places. But yeah, if you send something, it will be a while before you hear it because this is the third episode that we've recorded of this set of 4. So
don't stop emailing. You know us. We'll talk about your email if it's something.
Joe will make fun of you.
Yeah, I'll make fun of you. I'll be there making fun of you. You'll be there making fun of me. It's what we do. But yeah, please do keep emailing us. It'll just be like December before your emails actually get read on the air, possibly.
So yeah, actually, it won't be as long after you hear this one, probably.
That's true.
Anyway, and for next time, we are reading chapters 43, 44, and 45. We are back to 3 chapters for the next one. And we are in the home stretch here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more episodes to go in this book. So
wow.
We're getting towards the end. It's a very exciting time to be alive or a listener.
Well, I mean, he did say we're filming these episodes. I'm just like, we're not filming a thing.
Wait, you're not filming?
Yeah.
You don't have your webcam on? This is a disaster.
I think Data just really wants to be on TV.
I don't know that I do. No, I'd have to comb my hair and stuff. Who wants to do that?
Yeah, during COVID. I mean, come on.
I was on TV, in high school a few times, and I had enough of it. It's fine.
Yeah, been there.
Anyway, so thank you everybody for listening. Like I said, 3 chapters for next time. Read along with us. I know I kept saying that as we've done the show, and I'm like, I really kind of doubt anyone is reading along with us. But then Angela was like, hey, I'm reading along with you, so I couldn't listen to the episodes until I had time to read. I was like, oh, that's cool. Someone's reading along and listening to discussions with us. I hope more people are doing that. That's super fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we don't always plug our own show on here, but I will say, if you have a friend that you want to get into Mistborn, like my brother wanted me to get into it, and that's why we're doing the podcast, tell him to check us out. It can't hurt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell your friends, tell your neighbor, tell their dog. It'll be great. I told the kids know.
Because a dog talks in the story doesn't mean real dogs do that.
Yeah, that's true.
The kids know that I record generally once a week for this podcast. And so at one point they're like, what's your podcast called? And I told them. And then the next day they're like, hey, I followed your podcast on my iPad. And I was like, well, you haven't read these books, and you aren't gonna, I don't know, for the 8-year-old especially. I'm like, I think that maybe Mistborn's a little bit adult for you with the talk of raping ska women and such. But
oh yeah.
I
mean, hey man, I read Jurassic Park when I was 9, and that has raptors ripping out people's intestines. So
that's true. Well, and then a few days later, they came home from school and they're like, hey, we told our friends, and now they're following your podcast. So any children who are listening who know those.
Oh God, do I need to clean up my language because I'm very bad at that?
Well, you're in Australia.
That's fine.
It's expected.
What does that mean?
No, are you kidding? You gotta. I've heard so many stories about people who go to Australia and they're just like, yeah, everyone's just swearing constantly and
Well, years ago, a bunch of my friends went to a bunch of us traveled to Canada for a friend's wedding. It was a town called town Regina in Canada. Apparently, with all the wedding guests, the town population doubled overnight or something. So all the guys are at the pub, and they were just talking, bantering as they do. And one of them would just get up and just go, "Oi, dickhead, you want another drink?" And they just go, "Yeah, thanks, fuckwit." And that was just typical banter between mid-20s Australian men. And the Canadian people were just like, "Are you guys actually friends?"
They're so polite. They're just like, "Hey, can I get you a drink? Sorry that I didn't ask before."
I heard one thing from I think it was Barb from Rooster Teeth when they went for a convention in Australia, and they were they'd been hanging out with local fans, and so they were just kind of in this mode of speaking with, because Rooster Teeth fans skew very young, teenagers and maybe young 20s for the most part. So they're hanging out with these fans and they get into this just mode of talking. Then they go to the convention, and right before she goes on stage, somebody's like, hey, it's a family convention, so if you could watch the language, whatever. And she immediately just gets up and is like, oi, you, bad words that I won't say, because she was just in this mode of mindset.
Dear.
And it immediately realizes what she's done and is horribly embarrassed, but it was too late then. Oh, good times. Yeah.
It's too late.
Anyway, we've gone vamping because this is gonna be a shorter than usual episode. I mean, we only did 2 chapters, and I think maybe the thing is that these chapters themselves are, while there's a lot of stuff in them, like the whole discussion between Sazed and Tinwyl, it kind of boils down easily. When I went past it, I was like, this discussion boils down to this. What do you think? So we didn't dwell as long as we otherwise might have.
It's fine. You know, sometimes you get a shorter show.
Well, I like the shorter episodes because I edit them.
Jim-
So
Yeah, I mean, like
Did we used to
Mandalorian.
do episodes for like 45 minutes?
Mandalorian was the 3rd episode is the shortest one so far, but I liked it a lot.
don't spoil
Yep.
it. I haven't watched it yet. It just
All
came
I
out
said
today.
was that I liked it a lot. Calm down.
Well, they're talking about it in like that Facebook chat that we're both in, and I'm just like, shut up.
Oh
shut
yeah,
up, shut up.
I honestly don't go in there anymore because I know they're just gonna talk about stuff.
So originally, my plan for this show was that we would try to have episodes that went to right about an hour. An hour is where I thought would be a good time. And then it very quickly, before we got like a third of the way through the first book, it became clear that with the amount we were reading and how closely we were looking at it, an hour and 30 minutes was much more realistic a time frame to try to cut these down to. So that's how when I'm editing, I try to maintain it at around an hour and a half. If we get past that, then I'll look for stuff that's like, well, here's like a 10-minute discussion that's mainly me talking and other people aren't contributing that much, and it doesn't come back, isn't relevant to the overall episode, so I'll cut out like that. But if there's not something like that, then that's when the episode ends up being an hour and 45 minutes or something, because I'm like, nope, this is all gold. I don't want to cut it.
Well, you know, and as a listener, I don't know about the listeners of our show, but as a listener of podcasts myself, if it's a podcast I really like, when I see a 2-hour or longer episode go up, I'm excited. I'm like, wow, this one must be really good because they went for a long time.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah, that's fair. That's the way I am too. You make a good point there, because I listen to only a couple podcasts that I like enough to listen to regularly, so I'm always excited when there's like a long episode. Anyway, thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate it. Send us emails, send us tweets, like and I almost said subscribe. I was gonna say retweet and like, but none of that makes that much sense. So anyway, we're very insecure, and I don't know if anyone likes us, so please.
Yeah.
We get likes on the Podbean site, a couple every episode, which is nice. Somebody's liking it enough for that. Anyway, we will see you next week for
Music by Miracle of Sound.
Music by Miracle of Sound.
Sorry, I ran over you there.
Yeah. Wasing to the time of next, everyone.
And we try to keep a little beauty in the world. All that die, we keep it in our hands. Oh, we are the maiden voice. Oh, keep it in our hands. We tell it to the page. Ooh, we never let it fade.